I don't think they will do a Leverkusen. I think that they're not good enough. But you can compare them a bit to Liverpool, because Liverpool also so many potential match winners, but now they somehow have managed to not concede a lot. And I think that is the key to the success Marco Rose and Leipzig have had so far.
Hi and welcome to the Fußball channel. I'm your host Markus Fjortoft, and as always joined by Jan Fjortoft. Another Bundesliga round, 7 rounds concluded. We have some great European games ahead of us as well. But before we get into that, there is a Bundesliga round to conclude, to summarize. A lot has been happening, and that it's good to see you again. Good to be back after a international break in which we had Adrian Beck on, obviously from Heidenheim, for those who haven't seen that episode. And on YouTube and all audio platforms. But yeah, welcome back, Dad.
Yeah, thank you, and same to you. Yeah, I've been in England this weekend. Started with Manchester United, Brentford. Manchester United winning, of course. Then I went to Wolverhampton, Manchester City. And there was a lot of talk around the situation where John Stones scored, or did Silva be a part of that offside situation? I thought that was controversial till I saw Ekitike was taken down, and I
you go straight to it.
I go straight to the main point, because as a Frankfurt fan, I can't get over it. But I guess you'll ask about that later. So
yeah, but we are on it. Let's go into it. We're both fervent Eintracht Frankfurt fans. It's a thumbs up comes on the screen for those who are seeing this, but no thumbs up for Eintracht, and it was a pretty intense reaction from both Toppmöller, from Markus Krösche, and the club. For context, obviously Leverkusen play Eintracht, and Eintracht suffered their second loss of the season, only their second loss of the season. Marmoush again, fantastic form. That's 9 league goals in 7 league games, I believe. Took the lead through Marmoush, through the penalty after Leverkusen had missed theirs. Then Leverkusen equalized, a lovely bit of play from Andrich, and then Boniface. And I'm not quite sure what Kevin Trapp was doing on the second goal, but 2-1 to Leverkusen. But then, Dad, comes the dramatic moment right towards the very end. Radetzky, the goalkeeper, clears it into Ta, runs back towards the goal. Ekitike is running back to goal. All he needs to do is head it back into the goal for the equalizer. And then comes the controversial situation. Ta gives it a little push. Ekitike is out of balance, and Leverkusen get away with it. Just to give a little verdict about what the Eintracht reaction is and what the overall reaction Germany has been.
What the Eintracht reaction is? What the Eintracht of every human being that is not blind. I mean,
are you sure? I'm taking the center back.
Yeah, you can be a devil's advocate, but let's first start. Felix Brüch, who is the referee, is possibly the best, seen as the best referee not in Europe, but in Germany. He's been very good. I just saw before I got on now, just of interest, I went into Kicker, and Kicker have these grades. 1 is the best, 6 is the worst. He got 6. I mean, he was, I couldn't believe his performance in that game. Every decision was funny. And Ekitike, if that's not the penalty and a red card, what will be in the world? Do you think that Ekitike will go off balance in the air? I mean, if you have one little football understanding, then you know that should be a penalty. And I guess that is the champion bonus, as you say in football. And please be a devil's advocate.
Well, I'm taking the standpoint of a center back, and I understand there is.
So if a center half do a mistake, then you take okay.
And he's running back, and there's certainly a contact. I think what the referee is deeming is that the nudge and the push is not substantial enough.
Substantial. He didn't score, Marcus. That is not possible not to score in that situation if your opposition didn't do anything, didn't touch you, whatever.
Yeah.
And he didn't score. So what is?
Well, I think it might look like he's overcompensated, but actually not gotten enough over it as such. But I understand, of course, I understand Eintracht Frankfurt's viewpoint, and it was a very critical situation for both clubs, obviously, and especially for Leverkusen, who kind of had to win the game, Dad, in order to stay put with with Bayern and the likes of RB Leipzig, because that's them on 14 points, 3 points still behind the top. But if they hadn't won that after following the draw against Holstein Kiel, etc., it would have been a bit of a mini crisis maybe then in terms of being able to follow the informed teams of RB Leipzig and Bayern.
Yeah, and there has been reports that Alonso, of course, been very, very not satisfied at all by the team, and especially as you were saying, the Holstein Kiel where they're 2-0 up. I mean, that used to be differently. That they were down and they turned things around. You can say that you could make that forever, but still, for Leverkusen, we knew that there was going to be a reaction after that season. I thought, and I still think that they will not win the league. But I still think they will be up there coming the end of the season as well. But as you were saying, at the moment, seems that Leipzig is the title contender, the challenger. The funny thing is that Bayern Munich, they were third last season, and we still kind of analyze them as being the champion. Because it has to be said, yes, they had a week where they didn't beat Leverkusen. They lost against Aston Villa. They had a 3-3 against Eintracht Frankfurt. They didn't win. Harry Kane didn't score. Then they play Stuttgart. And yes, there was some even-Steven situations, especially in the first half for Stuttgart. And Sebastian Hoeneß coming back to his dad's club and his uncle's club, so to say, coming back. But what happened? Bayern winning, and Harry Kane scored 3 goals. I mean, that is a Bayern of old. That is a Bayern of... We just changed the name of Lewandowski and Harry Kane, and you have the good old Bayern going goal jubileum every game, more or less.
Yeah, and Kompany was asked after the game, are your tactics justified when you see the games or the result you see now? And he says, I couldn't care less about whether you think my tactics are justified or not. But what remains is what you say, this is a Bayern of old. You come to Allianz Arena, it's going to be the toughest game of your season. Also might justify the approach Bayer Leverkusen had towards their game. Yes, it wasn't a very sensational display as such, but they got a result from Bayern. And yes, goalless at halftime, but then 4 goals. Kane had a little mini goal drought. Nubel maybe helped him get that release. I think he could have been more convincing in that performance, but then what followed then is a hat-trick. And his first perfect hat-trick, that within the German terminology, because it was 3 goals in the same half, uninterrupted, and then Koeman ended it 4-0 to Bayern, but still Bayern without its not without its drama, so to speak, because back in the halls of power, there's been a bit of controversy, hasn't there?
But I think that some of that is made up. Some of this is the fact that the contract is up. You're talking about the CEO Dressen. His contract is up next summer. Then there was suddenly some reports of some kind of thing that had happened behind the scenes in terms of him being the employer and some employees, if I used to write English words for that. Then the next day, everybody was in there and they said, yeah, but we guess that he will stay on. Mind you, this is the guy who came after Oliver Kahn. He was the first interim, and then he is the CEO. I expect Dressen to be still there. I think they will give him a new contract. I think they also need his profile in that thing. It comes from finance. It's a big brand. They tried out that they needed a CEO with a football background. I don't think that is the key position, that you need a football background. I think finance is quite good for it, but that's how it is at Bayern. I just want to say a couple of words to Kompany, because it's not only... I mean, there were a lot of stories in Germany. I was in Germany for 24 hours and read all the magazines and talked to people. And there was a very good interview with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge that I actually asked Pep Guardiola about after the game against Wolverhampton. He said that in a game in Leverkusen, coincidentally, Bayern played 1-1. And I remember that game because I was working for Sky. There was a Topspiel game. And it was 1-1. Bayern were the much better team. And he then said to the players, and he said, boys, you did a fantastic game today. But I guess you've learned now that it's not the results who makes quality. It's not the results who makes quality. It's the quality who makes results. So if we just keep on doing quality, the results will be the consequence. And after that game, they went with 18 wins in a row. And sometimes when I listen to Kompany, you can see who is his mentor. You can see who he likes to kind of try to copy in his thing. And I think Bayern are there now. Are we coming up now? When we record this on Monday night, they're playing this week against Barcelona. That will be a big test for them. And we know that Bayern, they're meeting Hansi Flick, who won 7 titles in 1.5 year for Bayern. So that is a big test for them. And for Kompany, that is not a game that they will say, yeah, it's easy to beat Holstein Kiel, it's easy to beat Stuttgart, but your tactic doesn't help against Barcelona. That's how it is to be a Bayern coach.
No, it's a good point, and Bayern early on under Kompany are certainly resembling those tones of Guardiola's Bayern. Also worth noting that Stuttgart, as much as we give Stuttgart praise as such, and over the international break, close to half of Germany's team were consisting of Stuttgart.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But nonetheless, they are 10th in the league. They are on 9 points, equal to Gladbach, who've had a pretty poor start to the season. Yeah, and obviously one win in 6 games. Had a tough problem. They met the likes of Real Madrid and whatnot, and their one win was against Dortmund. Atop with Bayern Munich, less goals scored, but certainly the least goals conceded is RB Leipzig. And RB Leipzig is a curious case because they have now an historic start to the season in the club's history. 2 goals conceded, all in one game, against the game in which they won against Bayer Leverkusen. 18 games unbeaten in the Bundesliga, but doesn't seem to be that kind of optimism or that excitement about where they are at under Marco Rose. How do you analyze that situation?
Well, I take the short version. The short version is that there is a 50+1 rule in Germany, meaning that every club needs to be owned by the fans, by the members. Let's start there. Then you have some exceptions. You always have exception in the grams. What is grammatic?
The vocabulary, so to speak.
Vocabulary in Germany. So there's always, you have Bayer Leverkusen. That is a company team for Bayer. Hoffenheim, more or less the same, but also been under Wolfsburg. But Wolfsburg and Leverkusen get away with it because it's been for a long, long time. Okay, you can say the Red Bull had done it differently. They took over a team in the 5th league and then just step by step, Ralf Rangnick, the brain, so to say, took them into the league. And the German fans feel that they have been cheating. So if you see the shirt, it's they not called Red Bull Leipzig, like Salzburg, Red Bull Salzburg. They're called RB Leipzig, meaning that everybody knows that it's Red Bull, but it's officially a Rasenball, so meaning grass ball. So they found a way. So what quite normal is in England that you have owners coming from outside, changing a bit around. In Germany, that is very unpopular. And that's why there is not a big enthusiasm on what they are doing in Leipzig. And there's always big posters. And they love a postering in Germany this weekend. And that is the same with Jurgen Klopp, the guy who was in front telling everybody don't like multi-ownership. He just like the hardcore teams like Mainz and Dortmund and Liverpool and so on, said the right things. And Jurgen Klopp is back as a global head of something. It's a tough title, but he's then by Red Bull. So this weekend, they were in Mainz, the game in Mainz. There were a lot of plakaten, posters saying that you've forgotten where you come from, you've forgotten how we learned you to be, how and stay there. So they feel a bit betrayed from Jurgen Klopp. I think that's right to say. Of course, Jurgen Klopp knew that when he signed for Red Bull. And that's why there is not a big enthusiasm that they at the moment are the main challenger to Bayern.
Yeah, I guess also, and it's hard because when we have this discussion, how do you separate football from what's off the field as such? But if we were to look at RB Leipzig as a on the pitch performance as well, I think it's a season so far that's been a bit underwhelming playing wise as well. They've been very solid defensively, but they had a couple of 0-0 draws against Union Berlin, against St. Pauli, lost in the Champions League, and there hasn't been the same energy and what might I say, rock and roll about how they've played as such, even though they've had very exciting players. Xavi Simons scored a great goal, but he hasn't been at best and what have you. And so it's a funny kind of conundrum of where they are, both even internally in terms of how they see themselves now. Like I said, I think their program has been a bit more favorable. And then we'll see in December they have Frankfurt at home, Bayern away, and then so it goes. But I think it will be tough for RB Leipzig, admittedly, even though it's great to see an Antonio Nusa, the Norwegian there. They have Shesko, who missed two big chances, Xavi Simons and whatnot. And they have Oblak, who scored in defense there, who's been key for them. I mentioned there that they played 0-0 against Union Berlin, and Union Berlin have extended their kind of great form to the start of this season. They beat Holstein Kiel away. They now sit fifth of the table, and I said that, tweeted at the weekend, that all credit to Union Berlin. I know you have your friend there, Dad, at Union Berlin, but under Bo Svensson, the ex-Mainz coach, it takes a lot for a club psychologically to having gone from the Zweite Bundesliga up to the Champions League, and in that very same season they were the Champions League. They struggled. They stayed up by a whisker last game of the season, and now sort of bounced back with a new team, and for all of its lack of sensation, so to speak, they've conceded second least after RB Leipzig, and just keep on going. And I think, yeah, it's worth a mention.
Yeah, but I think that the main thing with Union Berlin, and it's in every sport like that, it's in every sport club, it's the management. And they got a good philosophy. They got a good way of running their club. They have now plans for a new stadium. They know where they're going. They want to be the number one club in Berlin, as they are now on the pitch. This is in all East Germany. Hertha Berlin used to be in the old West Germany, with a wall between them back in the days. And it's good to see that clubs that work hard are rewarded. And I think that the reason they manage to bounce back is that they have this philosophy, they have this vision, they have this closeness to the fans that will take them back, even if they have, like you say, into the Champions League and then nearly go down to the Zweite Liga. So I think that it's a big praise for them. That's what they're doing. Just say the last one in Leipzig, I think the Bayern are laughing at the moment because they see the main contenders for them in going into the season. Leverkusen are struggling, Dortmund are struggling, and Leipzig, as you're saying, they take some time for them to be a real title contender. I don't think they will do a Leverkusen. I think that they're not good enough. But you can compare them a bit to Liverpool, because Liverpool also so many potential match winners, but now they somehow have managed to not concede a lot. And I think that is the key to the success Marco Rose and Leipzig have had so far.
Absolutely. Dortmund kind of struggle along. Yes, they've won their fourth fourth game at home, but against St. Pauli, where they were not convincing at all, a lack of rhythm. I saw a funny tweet. There was Real Madrid. Dortmund had closed their training off to press at the Santiago Bernabeu because they didn't want to reveal tactics. And someone said, "What tactics?" And I think maybe that summarizes a bit Dortmund and the lack of impact Nuri Sahin has had on this team. Had it not been for Sergio Guirassy, who has had a fantastic great goal, great header, missed him the first three games of the season, and now he's only behind Harry Kane in terms of goals for club and country. He's got Kane has got 13 games for club and country, and Guirassy
13 goals, 13 goals.
13 goals, 15 goals, sorry. 15 goals in 30 games, and Guirassy has 12 goals in 9 appearances. And this is a stat that we've also discussed as well, is the impact of the goals you score. So for Guirassy, he has, throughout his time in Germany, 35 of his 47 Bundesliga goals have either brought his side one goal within their opponents, drawn them level, or put them ahead. And in
Yeah.
terms of like impact of goals, I guess that's why you're bringing in someone like Guirassy, and that's what gets Sahin, you know, I guess gets him, relieves him of some of the pressure. Even when you're struggling, having someone like that, a good old number 9.
Yeah, I guess that is your gets you out of prison card. And if you have good goal scorers, even if you're struggling, you know that you can rely on them getting the goals and get you the points, and that buy you time. And as you were saying, there was a Friday night, St. Pauli at home. There was all kind of traps been set up for them. But as I think Shine said after the game, I saw the interview. I think he said something about it was all about just getting a win, just get it going, and that's what I did.
Yeah, we'll see.
And now the Champions League again, and then they're world class. So they're top of the biggest table in the history of football. So we'll see this week.
Yeah, it's the team that we can never real make sense of. Also worth mentioning, a team that is in the top third place is Freiburg. They beat Augsburg. Augsburg struggling, but Julian Schuster, after taking over from Christian Streich, the club have recorded their best, or it's the best ever start for a Freiburg coach, as they equal their best ever start after 7 games to move within third. Controlled and clever performance from them. Augsburg struggling with 4 points. Let's see, before we go to Hoffenheim, it's worth mentioning that Gladbach beat Heidenheim. Tim Kleindienst, who started the 2 games for Germany, who got his debut, scored 2 against his old club. And that brings us then to Hoffenheim. Bochum. Hoffenheim beat Bochum 3-1 at 2-1 to Hoffenheim. Bochum got a penalty in the 89th minute, missed. Baumann saved the penalty after getting his Germany cap over the weekend. But there goes Peter Zeidler, the first coach to leave the Bundesliga, gotten sacked. He came from St. Gallen in Belgium, lasted 4 months, and after 1 point, after 7 games, it's hardly surprising, is it that?
No, and I think I just wanted to say that the Hoffenheim coach, the Gladbach coach, they saved themselves with the results, but Bochum was not to be saved, and he got fired. And I think that Germany they are quite reluctant to do that. There's a big pressure. There's a lot of media. There's a lot of magazines, papers, TV channels who are after the coach. There's a big pressure for them, and I don't think this will be the first one. And the one point in 7 games. It's only Gary O'Neill who can survive this. I was with Gary O'Neill, and you can imagine how he was after the game when he was running through the players' tunnel after the game. And of course, I can't tell you what he said because there was some words coming around. But he came out for the interview. He was calm. But they have also got just only 1 point. But as you were saying, you did that with different teams. The tables are lying a bit sometimes because you've been unlucky with the fixture list. You're unlucky just to play the big opposition as Wolves have had. You have then the easy guys, like easy in terms of the quality of the team. You can still lose against worse team. But I think RB Leipzig has had a bit easier program, but now it's gone. But you need a confidence, and they've got that.
Yeah, and I would say we all predicted Bochum to go down as well, but now it's a club with not a lot of money, still paying Thomas Lech, who they fired. They are all still paying Manuel Riemann, their suspended goalkeeper, who was also in Germany contention. They now obviously got rid of Ziedler as well. You know, they were lucky to stay up in the relegation playoffs last season against Fortuna Düsseldorf, and I think they will have a long and tough season along with Holstein Kiel and potentially St. Pauli. And that leaves me for one last game that we have forgotten, so to speak, and that's Wolfsburg Bremen. And Bremen beat Wolfsburg 4-2 away. Ralf Hasenhüttl can't make sense of that Wolfsburg team, similar to what Niko Kovac struggled with as well. And I thought Wolfsburg started okay this season. They played the likes of an Eintracht, Leverkusen, and Bayern, lost. This was their 4th loss, so you could give them a little slack, but 4th loss at home to Bremen, which you're expected to win. Marvin Duksch, the man of the match, he had 2 assists, 1 goal. He continues where he was from last season. And just went from bad to worse as Patrick Bimmer got sent off shortly after coming on as well. And that was a vital win for Ole Werner's Bremen. And I guess that's now looking forward to the European games as well, which we have a lot to look forward to. We have Barcelona, Bayern, we have Juventus, Stuttgart, we have Brest versus Leverkusen, RB Leipzig, Liverpool, and Real Madrid, Dortmund.
It's a great week coming up with the Champions League, and And as we were just joking, the 36 teams in this table, and it's Dortmund at the top, and now there's mathematics who are calculating who you are playing and everything. So now looking forward to that. And if I can end with a recommendation, Marcus, a recommendation of another podcast. When I was in England now, I was desperate to kind of make sure that I don't forget my German. So I listened to a lot of German podcasts, and Rasenmäher. They have a great interview with the CEO of Leverkusen, Caro, the Spaniard. What a life story! What a career road he has had to the top. And I also realized, and I didn't know, that he was very, very friendly with Hans Krankel, my good friend and old coach, Hansi Krankel. So yes, I've already been with on the message with Hansi. And I would like to sit down with Caro. I met him, but I haven't had the time to kind of pick his brain. Yeah, that's a great recommendation for everybody who loves football. How you build up a football club. He came from the commercial side, not only from football, just for Bertelsmann. But it's a big chain company in Germany. Is a great way, and the way he kind of explained the success of Bayer Leverkusen, very fascinating. So that's my recommendation at the end.
No, I agree. One of those few podcasts that is just long, and you get to actually have that proper conversation with them in a world of, I guess, short lasting content. But no, appreciate that recommendation. Can follow through that as well, having listened to it. Just also a reminder, if you are with us still, to please subscribe. Whether you're listening on audio or video, it'd be great for us that you came to YouTube as well, where we're on video, and we put out our shorts, our clips that are kind of snippets from the overall interview. We always appreciate that and build a community, and it's been great to engage with you so far. So thank you for listening, I guess, is our ending remarks, and long may it continue.
Absolutely, and we try to, or we do, answer everybody, and we also thank you for your feedback, because that is the themes and what we want us to talk about, and we're building up a small little good community here, and hopefully you will subscribe. So, auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.